I'm going to call the meeting to order.
Yeah.
Would you please call the roll? And Charlie's on time.
Great.
Well, Charlie, glad you could make it.
Here.
Powell is absent with notice. Cavell.
Here.
Smith Charles.
Present.
Whitebird.
I am here.
Hoffman.
Present.
Rahman is coming. And Markham. You have quorum.
Sheridan.
Thank you. Next, we have the Pledge of Allegiance. If everybody would stand and join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It was nice and
Item is approval of previous minutes. I'll take a motion.
I'll move that.
Commissioner Smith Charles, supported by Commissioner Long. Any additions, changes, or deletions? If not, please prompt the vote. You got Commissioner Rahman.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, and I forgot to give a thumbs up. Sorry, Todd. Told you I was gonna mess it up.
Yeah, he's worried about.
One of these years I'll get it right.
Hoffman.
Saw you out there jogging, yes.
Did you go? No, okay.
Still haven't.
Okay.
How do I?
You have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay, motion carries. Next, we have approval of today's agenda. I'll take a motion.
We should.
Commissioner Whitebird, supported by
I'll support.
Commissioner Cavell. And
Let's see if it comes up.
any additions, deletions? Seeing none, let's prompt the vote, please.
Yeah, shake. Extra or a little bit.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay. Our next item is public comment. Is there anyone in the room or online that wishes to address this committee at this time? Seeing no one, I will close our first public comment and we will move into item number 7, communications. Item A, note 20, auditor's report for the September 30th, 2023 adjustment. Motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Commissioner Smith Charles, supported by Commissioner Long. Ms.
Can receive a file.
Yeah, we can do
Is that
A, B.
all?
You wanna
Receiving a
receive a
file,
vendor
yeah.
A, B.
motion, do A,
Just
B.
the communication information.
Okay. All right, so that's the motions to receive and file both.
A, B. We can do that and then I'll second.
I'll allow it, that's fine.
Okay.
I'll second
Combine them.
All
A
right.
and B.
I do wanna mention before we vote, you all got a copy.
Yeah.
You already
voted.
Well, no, you voted to
Receive and file.
receive and file. We didn't vote yet.
I
I
just.
did. I did.
Until the board is closed, has everyone voted?
Okay, anyway, let me just talk about item 7B because I'm the one who added it to the agenda. I got this report yesterday. What this is all of the community projects from the fiscal year 2024 federal appropriations bill that passed just recently. And if you'll notice, over on the right, it tells you which representative was the one who sponsored it, either a congressperson or a senator, what the amount was. And it's sorted by county. So Oakland County's on the
Green.
second and third page, it's green section. Many of your communities did get money. So I thought you might be interested in having the full information on this.
Thank you.
I think it's also good for ideas for the future. As I read through this, I think, such and such community could use that, you know? So I just thought it was worth sharing. Anyway, okay, so we have passed item 7?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Markham.
We got 260,000.
Yes.
Cavell.
Yes.
You have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay, that's why I
Yeah.
didn't think it would pass.
Yeah,
'cause
this
I
is
didn't vote.
interesting. This is
Okay.
interesting. I
Okay.
didn't know we had 260.
Item 8, departmental recommendations. First up is item 8A, application for the FY 2025 Michigan Indigent Defense Commission grant. Moved by Commissioner Smith Charles, supported by Commissioner Whitebird. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Pete Mena. With me is Paulette Lofton, who's our Chief Public Defender. Upon request, I'm not going to go through the entire PowerPoint so that I shorten this up a little bit. This is our yearly grant application. As you all know, since you've all been on finance for several years, we do have to apply to the state of Michigan each year. We have to tell the state how we intend to run our indigent defense system for the following fiscal year. We have to tell the state how much that is going to cost us, and then the state will give us a grant in the amount of money that we request minus our statutorily required local share, which is approximately $1.8 million that we contribute from the general fund. For FY25, we're requesting about $20 million from the state of Michigan. Some of the big highlights for FY25 are increased staffing in the public defender's office. So we're looking to bring up the percentage of caseload that the public defender's office takes. We're looking to add about 5 more attorneys to the office, as well as another investigator, another paralegal, and another social worker, so that they would have 2 of each of those support positions. We also, in FY25, are going to need to do a lot more when it comes to monitoring attorney caseloads. So MIDC standards 6 and 7 are coming into effect next fiscal year. And what that means for us is that we're going to have to strictly limit the number of cases that attorneys can be assigned each year. Right now, we don't have any requirement to limit that. It's just whatever the attorney feels that they have the ability to take. So that's going to be a huge change. And then also we're going to have to do increased oversight of attorneys. That's applicable to all attorneys, but especially the attorneys who are our independent contractors on our roster. We're going to need to do more court watching of them. We're going to need to do more defined sort of performance evaluations. Those have always happened, but they've been more informal. Now it's going to be on a more strictly defined schedule. And so we are also asking for another employee position to be able to monitor those 2 things. Because those are really going to be heavy lifts when it comes to workload. And so we've got an employee request for that as well. Those are the basic contours of our FY25 grant and what it changes between now and FY25. And we're happy to take any questions that you might have.
Okay, I'll open it up to the commissioners. Anybody have anything they want to ask? I'll start with Commissioner Hoffman.
I do have one question, thank you. So you're gonna have a system now where it limits how many cases an attorney can take?
Yes.
What is wrong with the system now where they take what they feel they can do?
So the state standard, there's been a big shift over the last several decades to look at what is an appropriate workload for attorneys. And part of the issue is the idea that, well, you just take whatever you feel you can take, may not give completely effective representation in every case.
Okay.
Because the incentive to take more is obviously you get more money,
More money,
but
right.
are you doing quality work? So that's the reason for it.
Okay,
Thank you.
Commissioner Smith Charles.
Yeah, hi, everyone. I was just high level, how many, it says the MIDC Act requires every indigent criminal defense system in Michigan. How many are there, if you happen to know, like just abroad?
In the state?
Yeah,
So definitely one for each county.
okay.
Most of the smaller counties may only have one because their court system is small enough that they may only have one district court for the entire county.
Like Lapeer, for instance.
Yeah. In our metro area, all of what are called third-class district courts, which is an unfortunate name, but that is the name in the statute, they each have their own. So within Oakland County itself, we probably have 8 or 9 systems.
So it's like the Pontiac District Court, Southfield District Court, so it's those district courts not controlled by Oakland County, they have their own funding.
So statewide, if you figure 83 counties, am I right about that? 83 counties, you probably have another 30 to 40 on top of that, so you're up to about 125 maybe.
Okay, and to follow up through the chair, I was just curious, are they all pulling from the same pool of attorneys?
No. In the Tri-County area, we do have some crossover with Macomb. So some of our attorneys do stuff in Macomb, some of our attorneys do stuff in Wayne. Once you get out into other counties, a lot of those attorneys are focused either in one county or up north, for example, they may be going to like 3, 4, 5 different counties, but the caseload is small enough that it's not really making an impact. A lot of travel time, but not a caseload issue.
Okay, those are my questions, thank you.
Anybody else? I only have a question related to how's this working? Because it's been a couple of years now that since we got this ball rolling, and what its intent was to make sure indigent folks have proper representation and all that. So how, in your opinion, how do you think this is going?
I think it's going very well. I think part of that, a lot of that is due to the fact that we have a public defender's office now in this county. Paulette and her team have been able to really step in some of our more complex cases, some of our cases where it might be harder to find an attorney who's willing to take that case. And they have done an amazing job. Our roster attorneys also are really, I think, with increased training opportunities, as they're seeing that, yes, we actually are getting paid for the work that we do. We're not just getting paid a flat fee. So we're not afraid to file motions. You know, we're not afraid to go to do an extra court date to make those extra arguments because we are going to get paid for it. We're seeing that pay dividends in our system. The increased use of investigators and experts, I mean, that is just exponentially greater than it was 3 or 4 years ago. And that's the use of investigators is helping attorneys find weaknesses in cases. The use of experts is helping that as well. So I would say on the whole, it's going great. We do have these 2, standard 6 and 7 are the last 2 that remain to be fully implemented. And so once we have those under our belt next year, and we have maybe a year or 2 years where all the standards are in place, that will help us judge if we are losing folks, you know, because of the caseload standards, or people don't feel like the pay is adequate, that kind of thing. But I would say, as we sit here today, it's been an amazing improvement.
Excellent.
Can
Commissioner
I just
Whiteford.
follow up on that? So how's your space?
Yeah.
Commissioner Rom and I went by, tell you got the old library,
Yeah, so
part of it, and then just follow up on that.
Yeah.
And how's the space out at the courts? I know that was one of the biggest issues, that you had to provide secure space for the attorneys. And most of the courthouses didn't have any extra room, so
yes.
two things. So how's your space here?
Yep.
And out, and then how's it working out in the field?
So our space here is a small corner of the old law library. That is our staff, specifically in my office, that's in charge of intake of all the appointment requests, all of the attorney payment vouchers, all that kind of stuff. My office is there. Paulette's staff, and that space is not big enough for the public defender's office. So right now, Paulette's staff is in the South Oakland building in Troy. We've got a line on some space here on the campus that was vacated by MSU Extension. They moved over to the health department. So we're hopeful that within the next few months,
that's not a bad.
Paulette's gonna be able to move a lot of her staff over there. Still keep Troy as a satellite, because the idea is this is gonna expand over the coming years. So we wanna make sure that within the next 5 years, we've got enough space where we could house 40 to 50 people in a public defender's office. And we think with the North Oakland building and the Troy building together, we can do that. On the space in the courthouses, seems to be pretty adequate. The only exception would be 52-2 in Clarkston. Up until now, they have not had a confidential meeting room for in custodies because their lockup space is so tight. We do have that in our grant the current year that we're in, and facilities, that's an ongoing project right now where there's gonna be a build out of a meeting space in Clarkston.
Yeah, that came through here, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
And how about in this building, this thing?
This building is okay. I mean, there's one room on each, on two, 3, and 4. Typically, we can meet the demand. There's rarely a day where we have multiple people where we have to actually turn attorneys away from using a room. So it's working pretty well.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Well, thank you for the update. Let's go ahead and vote.
Markham,
Yes,
Cavell,
Yes.
you have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
thank you.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
thank you, Tracy, for doing that PowerPoint,
absolutely.
even though we didn't use it.
We were ready for
Thank
you.
Nice seeing you all.
Sometimes having to put one of those together just makes you kind of think through the whole thing, you know, so you'll use it someplace else.
I looked at it.
Thank you.
Look at it.
All right, next up is item 8B, new service with Belleville, Cambridge Township, KPAC, County of Lapeer for access to Oaknet connectivity and Clemis.
I'm moving. My last
By Commissioner Weipert, supported by Commissioner Smith Charles.
It's Cambridge Township.
These are IT folks, welcome.
I've never heard of it.
Thank you. Good morning.
Oh, it's Cambridge.
All right, so IT, or Rod Davenport from IT, I guess I personify IT. And we've got Mr. Jim Manning, this relationship manager for the first responders with me, and he'll kind of walk us through the Clemis items.
Thank you. Good morning. We are here before you today to review the to seek approval of the IT agreements between the agencies that you listed off, Belleville, Cambridge Township, Village of KPAC, Lapeer County Dispatch, and Lapeer County Sheriff. These agencies and CBTs are all currently members of Clemis. They have been paying members. And we are here as we are going through our files and our records and updating information. We are seeking the approval of their IT agreement. The IT agreement is the legal binding agreement between us, Oakland County IT Clemis, and the CBT and the agencies. So that is why we're here today. These are not new memberships.
Commissioner Weipert.
I mean, we've been doing this for a little while now. You've gone through and you've noticed some people hadn't signed the agreements, right? So
Okay.
we've done this a couple times.
And there likely will be more because we're not through the full list.
Well, with the process, we've sent out to all the agencies to get them to get it assigned, but of course, it goes through their process, internal process, legal review, and then through their governing body for approval as well before it comes back signed, so we can submit it for approval here.
Almost looks like it's alphabetical. You got the Bs and the Cs.
Yeah. Someone's working and then we'll have the
Somebody's got a list.
DE get next. Yeah, we have DEF next. You're gonna be right.
Anybody else have any questions? Commissioner Cavell.
I know this isn't necessarily pertinent to this specifically, but Clemis overall, I know we've touched on this. How is the review going of all those fees related to IT in general?
The rate study?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's still pending, so we're working with fiscal to get the contractors, and I know that they recently did some work with Maximus, I think, with the sheriff's office, so
Okay.
I think it's still in the queue.
Okay. What's like the ETA on that?
I don't
That's
know.
a them question.
Well, it's a polite ask question, I guess, but yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Anybody else? Let's prompt the vote, please.
Cavell,
Yes.
you have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Excellent. Motion carries. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next up, that concludes the department recommendations. Next up is our Public Health and Safety Committee recommendations. Item 9A is amendment number 1 to the FY 2023 SCAO Virtual Backlog Response Docket Grant Program. Moved by Commissioner Hoffman, supported by Commissioner Weipert. So do we have somebody here to talk about this?
Let me just, so court-wise, because of COVID, the SCAO and Supreme Court came up with a plan to give the counties money to deal with the backlog. They hadn't had jury trials for 2 years, lots of other stuff slowed down, so this is a continuation of getting the court system back, even though COVID's been over for a while. it's a grant, it's a good grant to help all the counties get back. So back on track of where we should be.
I guess Phil was the
Thank you.
presenter.
Finance committee resident lawyer.
Right, he
Helped
was
us
the
with that.
presenter, I
That's
guess.
good.
When there's
Thank
no
you.
presenter, it's nice to have a.
Anybody have any
diverse
questions or
committee
concerns or
members.
comments on this one besides Commissioner Whiteford? Okay, well, let's go ahead and prompt the vote then.
Gotta keep things moving, right? Keep them moving in court.
No.
Whiteford,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
you have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay, motion carries. Next, we have item 9B. Amendment number 1 to the Michigan Commission on Law Enforcement Standards, MCOLS, Public Safety Academy Assistance Program. Moved by Commissioner Hoffman, supported by Commissioner Rahman. Welcome to our Sheriff's Department.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so this is the third time that we're here asking you to accept this funding. It's from the Michigan Commission on Law Enforcement Standards. It's $144,000 that's reimbursing us for recruits in the academy. So it's funding that we didn't receive before, and we get up to $24,000 per each recruit. So this will cover 6 recruits. And then yesterday, in Public Health and Safety, Commissioner Cavell asked what their hourly rate was. So depending on who it is, if it's a Deputy 1 or a Deputy 2, it can range. The top end is from $35 an hour to $41 an hour. So obviously, you know, the ones at the higher level cost us more, but we're still getting reimbursement that we didn't get before. So
Good.
Thank you.
asking you to accept it.
Training is good. Okay, anybody else have any questions or Commissioner White?
So I did see the different amounts. I said, why are they getting different rates? And
Yeah, so it depends on where they're at, where they're working, and then what step they're at in the range. And so they each cost a little bit different.
some. Thank you.
That's good.
Anybody else? Seeing no one, let's go ahead and prompt the vote, please.
Markham,
Yes.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Refreshing.
Oh, it didn't work. Is that working yet?
What's that?
On and off.
I have
Yeah,
good,
the
I have good
Wi-Fi's-
luck with it. You want me to try? I hit that and I refreshed. Bob's working right. I said, I
All
have
right,
good luck
next
with
up,
it.
we have item number 10, which is our Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee recommendations. First item is A, the grant acceptance for the 2024 Survey and Remonumentation Grant. That's moved by Commissioner Long, supported by Commissioner Hoffman. We have
Sorry, you're
Fred
okay.
Miller from our clerk's office.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Chairman Markham and Commissioners for receiving this grant funding. No stranger to any of you guys. It's been a grant program since 1993. Every document that's recorded in registers of deeds offices throughout the state captures $4, goes into a common pool, which is re-granted out to the counties for the purposes of resurveying the entire state. Oakland County has surveyed the entire county once over, and now we're in what the state allows for our maintenance program, which is starting in the north end of the county for the last 3 years, and working our way just to make sure that none of the monuments have been destroyed or otherwise have gone missing, and that kind of stuff. So we're this year our surveyors are going to be working in Highland Township and Milford Township, and I think there's 171 corners that they're going to be visiting this year.
And so these are those little squares that are in the ground that
Yeah.
mark
Give me
the
one of them.
boundaries.
Tell those farmers, don't take those up.
Don't dig them up.
Don't dig them up, Bob.
Scrap metal.
I had one in my front yard when I lived in
Yeah.
Wisconsin.
No, I found old
How
ones.
many do you find damaged when you go back through? Are there many missing or?
I see, exactly. That's what I told him, Bob.
Not as many. Sometimes they're typically the ones that go damaged or missing are in roadways. Snowplows typically are the primary offender. This program doesn't necessarily account for the replacement of those. That's done through the road commission. That does most of those. But it happens, but you know, and sometimes it's a matter of updating the documentation that it'll refer to markers I'm forgetting the exact term, but refer to markers that are missing. So it literally, some of the old documentation will say, 10 yards east of oak tree or whatever, and that oak tree, so hypothetically, is gone. So they have to update the documentation.
So will this go on forever and ever then?
I mean, as long as the legislature approves it, periodically the legislature approves it. It was about 15 years ago where they updated the fee that's captured on the recordings. But there are still some counties in the state of Michigan that haven't done their initial survey all the way through. But we've been aggressive on it, and now we're going back through and working our way back to confirm everything.
If you're doing Milford Township and Highland Township this year, that'll take the whole year?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
With the amount of money that we're given this year, we're being granted a formula that's determined by the state. We're being granted less than we were last year, which means less corners than we can cover. I think we did 333 in 2023. We're doing 174 because that was the money that they approved for us.
These are private contractors that are hired to do this.
They're surveyors. We have a county surveyor. His name is Joe Kapelzak. He's been the county surveyor since the late 90s. And then he contracts with what we're finding is that surveyors, candidly, it's just not worth it. There's a declining number of surveyors. And then number two, the ones, it's not necessarily an incentive. So we have several of our surveyors are retired surveyors that do it out of, just kind of keep their
Thank you.
Anybody else? And I wanna say I misspoke, I said the clerk's office, but in this case, it's the Register of Deeds office.
That's our clerk register, yeah, that's right.
Right. Okay, so, any more, any other comments or questions? Okay, then let's prompt the vote, please.
You have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
All right, that's worked.
Next up, we have item 10B, the City of Rochester Hills Innovation Hills Park Restroom Project Grant.
Rochester Hills, anyone in here?
Moved by Commissioner Rahman, supported by Commissioner Cavell. Good morning.
Good morning. Melissa Prowse, Parks and Recreation. I'm joined this morning by Ken Elward, who's the Director of Parks and Recreation for the City of Rochester Hills. We're here to talk to you about bathrooms, which we come to talk to you a lot about, especially grant funding for bathrooms. So this is a grant that we are proposing to the City of Rochester Hills in partnership with the general fund, so half from Parks and Recreation and half from the general fund. To support a new restroom facility that is much needed at Innovation Hills. I don't know if all the commissioners are familiar with Innovation Hills, but it is quickly.
Just by seeing the pictures, I need to go there. Yeah.
It is incredible, and it's very clear to us that it has definitely become a regional recreation destination within the county. I think 400,000 visitors a year. 450,000. And the restrooms that were built for that park were just not sufficient to handle the amount of people that are coming in. So it's a $2 million restroom facility that I'm sure Ken can elaborate on if you want more information, but I know $1 million of that is just the sewer connection, essentially. So, but a nice, beautiful new facility that will serve all the families that are coming to Innovation Hills.
Yeah, it's a beautiful park.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
I have a comment.
Commissioner Smith Charles?
Yes, so surprisingly, nobody talked about the price tag, but what I'm excited about, having seen this during Parks meeting, and hi, I'm a member of Oakland County Parks. Here's another Oakland County Parks
That's where we saw
board
it.
member. So we kind of got this already and saw it. So I just, while I was concerned, I think it is a good thing for this county and the parks to participate in, just for proper branding and just letting people know in that greater Rochester area that Oakland County cares about them too. And I think that we do great jobs with bathrooms. Come to Catalpa and you'll see a fantastic example of a bathroom. So that's why I'm fully in support of it. Again, I just wanted to make that statement clear. But yes, I'm fully behind it, obviously based on the vote from before. But I think this will be a good ad for just branding purposes. That's all I had.
Anybody else? speaking of branding, I would, did somebody raise their hand?
I was just
Commissioner
gonna
Rahman,
mention,
sorry.
yesterday you brought this up as well, and the price tag did come up in yesterday's committee. So again, I know it is a lot of money, but obviously it's very needed, so I think it is, at the end of the day, to Commissioner Smith-Charles's point, it is a lot of money, but it's something that we need to do.
Yeah, restrooms are always surprisingly expensive.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm happy to speak briefly to that too. I mean, we're trying to get the cost down as much as we can. We're comparing between essentially a stick build and the prefabs. And the prefabs are actually coming in at $200,000 more than the stick build right now. We literally have some of the concepts on my desk. We truly appreciate the sort of the possible partnership here. Again, we're sort of a mini regional park system as it is, and we bring in about 1.5 million. And really appreciate the opportunity with Oakland County Parks on this. So, but yeah, it is expensive, and there is no water or sewer in that area, especially sewer, and we're having to run it down the road and across the street. And so that's the other reason for the price tag. Yeah, we think it's expensive too, for the record.
Infrastructure, water, yeah. I was just gonna say, $1 million is the water and sewer. I mean, that's
right, yeah.
That's a big deal, so.
That's not cheap.
So it's not like it's not the
bathroom.
The bathroom.
Right.
That infrastructure's $1 million.
Yes.
There's no getting around that. We've got the water resource commissioners can tell you that.
Yeah, and it's a big pipe coming in, because there's future possibilities on that road, so it's,
So thank you, yeah.
Commissioner Cavell?
I've never been to Innovation Hills, but is
Neither
there a
have I.
way to get there via like public transit? Is there a bus line?
There's I believe there's one coming in near the Walmart there, I think. I don't have all of them memorized yet, as they're relatively new, but so it's like a mile away, if you will, I believe, on that. And I know there's one coming in on Walton, which is a couple miles north of there. Again, it's very close to the Clinton River Trail too. It's about between a quarter and a half mile away there, so individuals can get there on bikes or walking even too.
Okay, so there isn't a stop at the park?
Not at the
But
park,
like-
no. Again, all of our parks do about 4 to 5, or several of our parks do 4 to 500,000 visits per year. And so as of now, the transit that's coming in is on the main arteries.
Okay. And then my second question for this is,
I think it, so do I, see more and more.
I can't think what you're talking. My second question was, not just how long will it take to build this out?
We're planning, again, with the support of the group here, we literally have the bids on my desk right now, so fingers crossed, we'll start building late summer, it'll be done before early fall.
Okay.
So.
Like a groundbreaking in the summer?
Yeah, probably late summer. Again, I don't wanna put a timeline on it, because we haven't talked to the contract, but this year, before fall for sure. And hopefully it'll be done before fall with the groundbreaking in the summer, as you said.
Cool, okay, thank you.
And the funding from the county is $50,000, or no?
$250.
$250 from.
Matching our $250 and from parks.
Parks, and $250 from the general fund.
Yes.
Sorry.
All right, I have been to Innovation Hills and I've used the bathroom that's there. Which really is an innovative little bathroom. It's solar powered, it's well water, it's septic, and it's off the grid basically, which is kind of nice.
It actually collects rainwater, it's not even connected to a well, but
It's one that we've used as an example for some of our more remote parks for some of the projects we're working on.
Right,
Yeah.
so I mean, that was kind of a nifty
Yeah.
thing, but it really is not for 500,000 visitors a year or more. So, and Innovation Hills, if you have not been there,
That's what I said.
is
I saw
very cool.
pictures, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of features to it that are designed around, accessibility and neurodivergent people, and I mean, it's just really a cool park, so if you get a chance to go. And with that, let's go ahead and prompt the vote. Innovation Hills Park last summer, and that's when I went.
Yeah, that's
But
neat.
they had a good turnout, they had probably 100 people there, and it was very cool.
We have 7 years, 0 years.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Invite us out to the groundbreaking for the bathroom.
Yeah. We don't flush it.
They have a really cool like river kayak access there too. And there's some neat stuff. Okay.
Beautiful.
Let's see, where are we? That was it for 10. Okay, next up, we have item 11, Economic Development and Infrastructure Committee recommendations. Item 11A is the grant agreement with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation for the Pontiac redevelopment grant. That was Sean.
I'll move it, Madam Chair.
Moved by Commissioner Smith Charles, supported by Commissioner Rahman.
Two things we can.
Welcome, Deputy Carlson.
Welcome, still morning, still good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. So just a quick update, as the resolution says, so we did receive our $50 million from the state of Michigan, more specifically, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. And that will be, we actually received half of it, 25 million. It's based on a reimbursement, so once we expend the 25 million, then the other portion of that will be dispersed at that time. Also, the city of Pontiac also received their $5 million that's associated with this project. So they were able to discharge their debt on the Phoenix garage. And the conveyance of that property took place on March 21st of this past month. So we moved from the leaseholder to owners of the Phoenix garage. As you all know, and I've presented in front of the committees previously, is that the catalyst for us to go out for the last 2 RFPs. So we went out for an owner's rep, which was bid on by 8 or 9 bidders. Fardman Group is the owner's rep. And we're moving through the process. That was approved with the resolution, I think last month. And so the A&E is being awarded. The recommended awardee is HED, which is an architect and engineering firm. And then AECom/Sidewalk Detroit will be doing the community engagement. So we'll be back in front of the EDI committee for approval on those contracts, hopefully the next EDI meeting. And then the last 2 RFPs that we have to do, one will be for the redevelopment of the property in downtown Pontiac, and then the other bid will be for the renovation of 31 East Judson. So that's a construction management bid that will go out. We are targeting the 22nd of April. And then we will also put out the property redevelopment project as well. And I've mentioned this in the past, the property redevelopment is really about demolishing the Phoenix garage and reviewing offers in regards to a parking garage and where will that be located and so forth. So that's the process. The construction management is for the renovation of that 31 East Judson. So both of those properties will go out, RFPs, and hopefully we'll have some competitive bids that come in on that process. We'll look to put that out, like I said, April 22nd. We'll probably have that on the street to the 1st or 2nd week of June. It has been the recommendation by the EDI committee that we involve the Board of Commissioners. This is a very monumental project, a legacy project of the county. As I reported in the previous committee, that we will be looking for 2 Board of Commissioners to be on the evaluation committee of the construction management contract, as well as 2 Board of Commissioners in regards to the property redevelopment. There'll be 7 evaluation committees altogether, members on the committees. There'll be 2 different committees, and we'll also be extending a seat to the city of Pontiac in regards to the Pontiac redevelopment. We want to make sure that we continue to be good strategic partners with the city. They will not be involved on the 31 East Judson because that will be a county building, but certainly on the property redevelopment that's taking place. So that's it in a nutshell. I know that's a lot of information, but just want to let you know that we're moving things along.
I'll open it up to the commission. Anybody have any comments or questions?
Me too.
Big one, no questions, okay.
Good.
All right.
Second go around for a lot of us, right?
Well, and in EDI, Commissioner Johnson mentioned, as you speak about the parking garage, as we're looking at and we're early on this, you haven't even put out the contract. Well, I guess you do know who your architect's gonna be.
Yeah.
But the whole idea that transit is part of what happens, should be part of the conversations. We're looking at a, facility we're gonna use for 20, 30, 40 years now, if not longer, and we're promoting transit. So transit should be an aspect of the transportation. Who's coming to work there, we want them to be able to get there
And
by
we do have an
transit
urban
too.
planner that's been hired through the HED process too,
Okay.
so.
Yep, good. All right, with that, let's prompt the vote. I do not understand why it's not.
Cavell,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
you have 4 yeas and 3 nays.
Okay. Motion carries.
All right, thank you.
Have a good one. You started out early kinda, Sean, you're still here too. Airport committee, yeah. Yeah. We were
All right,
8:45 for the airport, but Sean.
Next up is item 11B, pledging the full faith and credit of Oakland County for the Oakland Macomb Interceptor Drain Bonds. Moved by Commissioner Smith Charles, supported by Commissioner Hoffman.
Oh, I thought it was this time.
I'm not sure what's the situation in the IT room. I don't know.
The what did you ask for?
Usually
I wanna know
the
who the
vote
3
prompts up on
Oh.
the screen.
You sound like me earlier.
It's not showing it.
I said just look this way.
I figured, but
You never know, you're right.
trust but verify,
Okay,
I do like the.
welcome again.
Thank you. I'm Ben Lewis, I'm Assistant Chief Engineer for the Oakland County Water Resource Commissioner's Office. And with me today,
I like the board.
introduce Peter Reckland, Clark Hill.
Joe Coliani from Clark Hill. We're bond counsel on this project.
Stephen Berg from MFCI, and we're the financial advisor for WRC.
We're requesting the full faith and credit to the county for the project, for the OMID, which doesn't involve our bonding, but the full faith and credit in order to get the project through. We're looking for $4,634,000, which represents about 33.1% of the project for the 13 communities in Oakland County that are tributary to the OMID system. And if you have any questions.
Okay. Some of us saw this earlier today. Commissioner Smith Charles.
Yeah, the two gentlemen here weren't at EDI today. We were fortunate to have, is it Jen? I was gonna say Jen Cook, who was fantastic in explaining everything. I just wanted to inquire your role again is as attorneys.
Yeah, well, we're the bond counsel for the Oakland and Macomb Interceptor Drain Project.
Okay.
In general, and to some extent, other matters that the Drainage Board directs to our attention. As bond counsel, we assist with preparing the transactional documents necessary to issue the municipal securities that will be used to finance this particular project, as well as the legal proceedings related to the drain project. There are certain legal proceedings that have to be completed. The county's role here is pledging the full faith and credit, and I'm sure your experience with that, it's basically the secondary security. For this type of for this project, similar to our last one with the OMID, I think many of the Oakland County communities prepaid. So there's in all likelihood that the county's full faith and credit will be limited, but you just never know. What we do is the next step here is we'll approve the assessment roll, we'll strike that. The next step will be to open the bids the project. Once the bids are, we know what the cost of the project will be based on the construction bids. We will then prepare an assessment roll, and then once we have the assessment roll prepared, we will notify the communities, and a lot of Oakland County communities in particular will typically prepay. It's a small enough amount, and a lot of the revenue is derived from their water and sewer funds, or sewer funds, basically.
Okay, thank you for that.
Anyone else have questions on this? Commissioner,
I did, Steve. They're, when they prepay, they're prepaying from their enterprise fund.
Correct.
It's there.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not
there.
like they're asking the
Yeah,
taxpayers to come up with something different or out of rainy day fund. It is already enterprise fund that's holding money for certain purposes.
future capital projects,
Right.
as a part of their rates and charges to their users.
And sometimes it's not a good idea to have a big balance in those, because then you're exposed to litigation targets.
Yes. Which we, I
As you
handled
would
those
know.
cases too, so, yes.
You're a target if you're holding a lot of money.
it's also good planning to have,
Yeah, well, you want a rainy day, but.
and you want the money available when you decide this is what you wanna do, so, yeah. Anybody else? Okay, seeing no one, let's prompt the vote.
Smith Charles?
Yes.
We have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Excellent, motion carries. Our next item is item 11C, authorizing the issuance of bonds to finance improvements for the Oakland County-owned City of Pontiac sewage disposal system. Moved by Commissioner Smith Charles, supported by Commissioner Long. Good morning again.
And good morning again. This time we have a change in our cast of characters, Laura Bassett, Dickinson Wright, as legal counsel for WRC. As you previously said, Pontiac is owned, the city of Pontiac sewer system is owned by Oakland County. And we are requesting authorization to issue bonds in the amount of $5 million for sewer project on Martin Luther King near M59 for Force Main and lift station. We were previously at the board and got our notice of intent on January 18th, which the 45 days expired on March 7th. So we're here following procedure to request the authorization of issuance of bonds in the amount of not to exceed $5 million.
Okay. Anyone? Commissioner Cavell.
Hey, so just to make sure I understand, this is $5 million to improve the MLK pump station.
It'll be a new pump station.
Okay.
And replace an old sewer that doesn't really function anymore. They're designed as a parallel sewer. It's gonna be replaced with a single line. We've had many sewer backups, and it actually goes over the Clinton River, and we can't clean it because if we try to put any sewer jet in there, the pipe rattles and leaks into the Clinton River, so it's imperative that we get this moving as best we can.
And the reason for bonding, and I'm hoping you can help educate us all, because I've heard this before with WRC, is that because of Pontiac's SAD or the catchment area, they're not eligible for, they're like 10 houses too many or $50 of area median income for the SAD for this pump station or the whatever would be the Pontiac sewage system catchment. Am I making sense to you?
I'm not picking up.
Okay, then I'll just take it from here. So if we all recall, Steve Korth has told us several times, Steve Korth from WRC has told us about why Pontiac needs to bond money as opposed to just being eligible for a state revolving fund grant is because Pontiac's catchment area for service with WRC also includes a couple of towns with, like Lake Angeles or something. Includes a couple of small areas or Kego Harbor where the area median income then makes it so that there is the area median income of that, which is like $800 above the threshold.
Oh.
So, for example, when they came to us about a $38 million project, they needed to ask for $35 million in bonding, which then goes on the ratepayers' bills. Wherein if they had had two people that were poorer or something in their catchment area,
So
they would
they're
have got a $38 million grant from the state.
Their map needs, the circle needs different.
So they gotta change the map or
Change
get a
the
few more
circle.
poor people in the
Right.
area. But what that means is then this $5 million is gonna go on their bill, right? Am I getting this right?
We get part of, I think they're gonna Kegel.
So Steve's probably the best
Okay.
one
Yeah,
to.
we do get Kegel.
So I apologize, I wasn't, so Kego Harbor, I believe is a
Yes.
part of the
Yes.
system,
I know what it
which
means.
raises the median household income and per capita taxable value SEV
Right.
of the system.
Right.
So while they are still overburdened, they're not significantly overburdened, which they're close to the line of. And so that's what throws off the SRF. So they have received significant SRF and we were here this morning for the notices of intent there and we'll be back in a couple of weeks for the bond resolutions for those. So both sewer and water receive significant SRF grant funding, low interest loans, but they're not in the highest category of assistance because of that other municipality that they sell to within the system.
And they were just for other projects. You applied for project specifics, so like you said, one of the projects we presented this morning did receive up to $20 million, so.
Cool.
They're eligible, you just don't always get it.
Okay, got it.
And we'll be back to you with those in a little over 45 days.
Anyways, the TLDR is that like Pontiac kind of getting short shrift.
Well, Kego Harbor used to be not
And Kego.
as fancy either, but
Yeah,
they
that's true.
had a
The-
lot of,
The values went up.
smaller
Sure.
homes torn down and big fancy
Yeah.
mansions built on the lakefront there, and
Right.
that changed
Definitely.
really the demographics and
Yeah,
the
Kego
economic
Harbor was
base
small.
of that whole part
Yeah,
of the
they all used to be
community.
little small
Cause they
little
used to be a lot more like Pontiac and
cottages.
Sylvan, yeah.
They're all cottages.
They were
yeah.
cottages, now they're
Interesting.
mansions on the lakes.
Is Sylvan Lake part of the same thing, or is it just Kego Harbor?
But that's everywhere, Charlie.
Sylvan Lake is also,
They tear down the little.
Yeah.
some of the
And
same.
it may be,
They're doing it too.
and I
Yeah.
apologize, it may be
Lake,
Sylvan Lake,
the
that's
little
the.
lake.
Gotta be.
Between Pontiac.
It's right across
Yeah.
Telegraph.
Still on this little lot.
Straight across
yeah, right.
Telegraph,
Yeah.
okay.
But the same idea,
Same
different
idea, yeah, the
municipality.
houses,
And just so, the other two that are coming back received, roughly 4.6 million, for the sewer project out of a $7.2 million project, 4.6 in grant and principal forgiveness plus the low interest loan. And then in the water project, it received, over 20 million of grant and principal forgiveness on a $28 million project. So they're still getting significant, they're just not in the significantly overburdened category.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thanks for that clarification. Anybody else have anything on this one? Let's go ahead and prompt the vote, please, thank you.
Oh, no, I didn't get it. Come on.
I
Did
got
you guys
it
get yours
instead.
all?
Long,
Yes.
you have 70, 0 nays?
I'll refresh now that we're done, because he said don't do it when we're doing the vote, so.
Seven yeas, 0 nays.
Okay, thank you.
It's working good.
Motion
So
carries,
then-
thanks very much.
Thank you, you were here quite long too. Most of the morning here
Should I have
too.
somebody else?
Yes.
Move that,
Yes.
okay.
I can speak to it if you want.
Okay, next up, we have item 12, Board of Commissioners recommendations. And we're gonna start with item 12A, which Mr. Keys is
Yes.
going to
I will just
talk
say
about.
that unfortunately Commissioner Gingell was not able to attend today's meeting due to work travel. And we were expecting someone from
I know.
Yeah, there you go,
Whatever.
Plaza de Bocce.
Yeah.
But they're not here today. Chair Woodward has asked that we postpone this item until the April 17th Finance Committee meeting to give us more time to communicate with both Commissioner Gingell, but also the Economic Development Department.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Okay, so I need a motion and a second. Moved by Commissioner Cavell, seconded by Commissioner Hoffman.
Get it off the agenda.
Postpone it.
Item
So
12.
someone could be here.
Till the 17th.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's kind of a lot of money.
Okay, let's prompt the vote.
So this is just to postpone, take it off the
Postpone.
agenda.
We're postponing it.
Okay.
Any decision on this at all?
Okay.
No, just gonna
Good.
postpone,
It's a postpone.
Is there any alternative to this?
such as.
A no to postpone?
Take from now until the 17th to figure it out?
Just to,
You can do it.
What's the question?
I will just
if he
say
wants
that.
to-
No, we're voting, we're voting, we're not talking, we're voting. We already
Let him
voted, so
talk.
figure it out yourself, and then we'll talk.
No, let him talk.
No, don't listen to Bob. He's
Oh
never
my
gonna,
God.
we gotta vote.
He can vote no.
We voted, right?
We already voted, so you can't then be
Yes.
like,
Right.
so wait, I'm wondering, what are you gonna vote? Cause I'm
Yeah.
still waiting.
No, he's not
Just
asking
vote,
how to
and then
vote.
we'll talk.
Postponed.
But he
You should have talked, then voted.
What was the
but,
vote?
7 yeas and 0 nays.
Thank you.
Okay. But he can vote no to postpone if you want.
Yeah, you can, that's fine.
I'd like to hear his
We
question.
can't ask questions when we're already voting.
Wow.
I'm just
It
saying,
may come up in the
Right.
next item.
it's cool, whatever he
Yeah.
wants, but,
Seniority.
but yeah, we'll just,
So,
yesterday Penny started talking to public comments, like, come on. The
Oh.
Robert's rules are Robert's rules, so let's just follow them.
First rule is
Okay.
there are no rules.
not true.
Right, but
Not true,
Not
True, we'd have
you and
chaos.
Fight Club,
that
huh? You and Brad
I like
Pitt.
Get back in order.
You're out of hand, Bob.
Yeah, get in order.
All right. So the next item, process for submission and evaluation of special project requests. I need a motion. Commissioner Cavell, supported by Commissioner Rahman. Okay, and Mr. Keys has been working very hard on trying to come up with some sort of standardized way about looking at board commissioners' special projects. I think everybody at this table and probably on the commission is a little loosey-goosey in our heads for how this all really works. And this is an attempt to try and standardize and streamline how we go about doing special projects, evaluating them. Yes. So with that, I will turn it over to our analyst, Mike Keys.
Yes, and so hello commissioners, again, I'm Mike Keys with the BOC staff. A month ago, I came to you with a draft policy for the evaluation. I think that's important to note because in the discussion, what we really heard is although we do want more of a structure in the evaluation, we certainly don't want to minimize the number of requests coming from individual commissioners or individual communities. So we still want the flexibility and freedom to submit those projects, but when it comes to the evaluation of them, we want that standardized process. And so we really took the first policy that was adopted by this committee about 2 years ago and made it look a little fancier, put in a little bit more text to give a little bit more direction. Commissioner Markham specifically asked for a terms to know or definitions section to help keep us all speaking the same language, if you will. At our last meeting, we also talked about the need to consider an equitable distribution of the funds, and so that's been incorporated into this policy, as well as some additional reporting on the outcomes. You may know that when we have a project that's big, a good example is the gun buyback program, we have contracts in place that have deliverables and outcomes that come back before this board, and we are able to monitor how the money is spent. When we have the sponsorship of events, we really only get an invoice from that community telling us what they're going to do with all of those funds. So yes, we have a documentation of it, but this text is going to add an additional process that just asks them to send us a letter saying how many people attended the event and what was the community impact. And so that'll just add an additional layer of evaluation after the project is concluded. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I will confirm or make sure we're all on the same page that this is just a finance committee policy and process. And so this will, once it's approved here, will stay with this committee, not go to full board. But at any time, there can be an evaluation of this policy and amendments can be made even throughout the year. There is no time limit on when this can be updated.
Good,
Okay.
thank you.
I will open it up to the commission. Commissioner Rahman.
I was just gonna make a quick comment, so thank you for the time and effort put into this. I think it's something that we've needed. You know, I don't know if everybody shares a sentiment, but I think to Commissioner Markham's point, I think we needed some guardrails. I think this helps to define and give us some parameters to work in. And the fact that it is a working document, we may come up with other ideas or say, hey, this works or doesn't work and can modify it accordingly. So I just, again, thank you for putting this together and I really do like where we're at this point.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Commissioner Cavell.
Well, I just wanna give a shout out, just to Mike and everyone else, but also to Ajay for, being whatever the saying is, for pushing this.
A Cabell.
That's a compliment.
So anyways, thanks Ajay and Gwen. Yeah.
Just to add to that, Andrea Powers in our office, I'm usually the face of when you're asking for the money, but anytime we actually need to get the money anywhere, Andrea Powers takes that on, so she is crucial to this.
Commissioner Weipert.
Just as far as the reporting timeline submitted within same calendar year, I mean, if some events are in December.
Yep.
And so you might wanna say same calendar year is within 60 days or something, I mean.
Yeah, we really were trying to be mindful of the fact a lot of these are volunteer committees. You know, it's not always a city organization that's doing this. So we can, when those projects come up in the motion language, be sure to extend that timeline if necessary.
Thanks.
We actually just did that this last year.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Thank you for doing this, and Andrea. So the people that are eligible for this program, am I understanding this correctly? They have to be a nonprofit, they have to be a government entity or a county-approved vendor.
And so, no, actually, that is just in the terms to know. So we have in there what is the difference between a nonprofit, a government agency, and a vendor. I think a good example to give you is when we're working with a government agency, it's pretty easy to transfer them the funds and get a report back from them. But when it's a vendor or a nonprofit, we really need more than just their promise that they'll do that. Because again, that local community has sets of minutes and board action that justifies that request from them. And then in the back end of it, if they're a vendor or a nonprofit, they have to be approved as a county vendor, which will add maybe about a week, that's being, it shouldn't take that long, but maybe about a week to the process of them getting the check for the first time. Whereas the local communities have already been approved as vendors, and that process will be a little easier. So the policy doesn't restrict it. Everyone in Oakland County, every community and organization is technically eligible if they have a commissioner that sponsors their request. But these definitions will help the commissioners understand if they're giving money again to that government, local, nonprofit, or vendor.
Okay, but my question is, how does the bocce tournament fall in this guideline?
Yes, the bocce tournament is technically, I believe, a nonprofit, because although they're working with Palazzo de Bocce, there's actually a nonprofit arm of that we administer the check to.
Okay.
I could be misspeaking, and if I am, then it would be a vendor, and then they've already been approved by the county for working with us in 2022, and it would, be something similar.
But we'll be told that before it comes
Right.
back.
Oh, yeah,
to the
that's why
agenda
it's
then.
postponed, hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's partly why it was
All right,
postponed.
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how it fell in there originally.
Everybody else?
Nice job.
Y'all like the new procedure? Yeah. Thank you for all the work, really. I
Absolutely.
know we've been talking about this for months and months and months over the course of, a
Since
few
last year, I
cycles
think.
now. Everything from a $250,000 skate park down to, a $5,000 kite fest, right? So I really appreciate all the work that's gone into trying to make some sense out of the way we've been doing things, and as Commissioner Rahman said, put some guardrails on it so we're all kind of working in the same racetrack.
Absolutely.
Okay, if there's no other comments, let's prompt the vote.
That's a good one. We have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carries. Everybody likes the idea.
Okay.
That's great. Thank you. All right, we need the chairperson, I think, because he's the one who's.
That's what I was gonna
organizes.
ask on this one. Is this where initiated because of the,
You
just
might go
went,
together.
yeah.
Okay.
Is it Dave coming? Dave?
Should be.
He's in the building, he's probably listening.
Oh, hi, Marcia.
Hi,
Dave, if you're listening.
Dave
Well,
Woodward.
Can I ask something real quick while we're waiting? And it's related to this. Did this come about because of the sheriff's dispatch contract?
Just the confusion and everything.
So this is gonna, for the object behind this is to help us not be like, not know anything about it
Surprise.
again. Surprise, right? Okay. So that's a good thing.
Commissioner Woodward coming?
He is walking in right
Yeah,
now.
that's what I thought. This came from the dispatch
Yes,
confusion.
if you may remember previously, there were dispatch services contracts that
Right.
came before the board. Chair Woodward at that time did let the committee know that he would be submitting an update to the purchasing policy that requires those rates be approved by the board before they're sent out to the local communities, and that's
Okay,
what's
and
in
this
front
is
of you.
his response to that, so thank you.
Yeah,
That's what
well, this is a
that's what-
conversation, I mean,
Right.
not so much me, everyone said like, why are we on the back end of this?
Right,
We're
we
gonna
need
be
a
on the
motion
front.
before we
Oh,
get going. We
sorry.
need a motion. Commissioner Long, Commissioner Cavell.
Thank you.
So,
Okay,
yeah, and so as Mike has indicated, so this is a formalized procedure policy to put us at the front of the process and not at the back end of the process. I mean, I think everyone here, well, those who, representing communities that were part of the dispatch stuff, got letters, establishing, rates. Now, even though the letter communicated subject to approval of the board, it was before any of us ever saw it. Yeah, I knew it. So that pushes us, and this is gonna be a little bit of a learning curve because there are a number of elements. I mean, we've had a lot of conversation on indirect costs. Sometimes, the biggest ones that are coming up is the patrol contracts.
Right.
Those contracts expire at the end of the year. And so I've talked to finance and Cheryl and now with our CFO, we need to get a approximate amount, what the rates are gonna be very soon, like no later than next month, realizing there might be some modification to those because of contract negotiations and other things that could change the compensation rates for our deputies that happen between now and the end of the year. But I think it's fine to say, okay, based on today, this, subject to
At least we have a
contractual obligations, and it positions communities to appropriately start planning. Some communities levy a millage for some of these services, and whether they have to renew that, increase that, or whatever, they have a little bit more of a leg to be able to do that, and we can start working out ways to make it easier for communities to be able to meet the financial obligations of providing these services. But the fundamental policy here is that before we even do that, any communication of a rate, that it has to get the approval of this board. And so all the components that go into that is deliberated through a policy and financial oversight of this board. We establish the rate.
Wow.
And then that's the rate that's gonna be communicated to local communities. And I think it would put, for those who endured the brunt of the calls, I had the luxury of getting all of the calls. Some of you, the rest of you got a lot of calls from your individual districts or districts you maybe represented in the past. But it's, and I think it's important for a variety of reasons. And the contracts that come to mind that this would apply to, we just went through dispatch, but in the future renewals at dispatch, equalization contracts where we contract for equalization services with local communities. Obviously the patrol contracts, and then frankly any other contract that we do with a local government for services and would all be subject to this. And so this action has to happen before those rates are communicated. Now, the good thing is, we started phasing this in. We established rates for SRO officers, SROs. You'll remember that we established the rate, and this is what it is, this is what the contract is for these services. Those contracts will be incorporated to the extent that either some communities have the contract with a local community might include the SRO with the individual school districts that they share, or they might be separate with the school district versus someone else. In Pontiac, it's the school district is separate from the cities. In others, it's combined. So there's work that has to be done to consolidate those. But this gets to the fundamental thing that we care about, that it responds to, but most important, to prevent and ensure greater communication earlier in the process. So as soon as possible, we want to be able to do this, and to extents that components of that rate need to be subject to labor agreement or something like that. It's indicated with hopefully a date certain that we can resolve those. At the end of the day, these services to local communities are far cheaper by contracting with Oakland County because of economies of scale and other efficiencies than if individual communities brought it in-house and did it themselves. And so I know we went through a little there was tension in the last one, but everyone acknowledges it's still cheaper than if everyone went alone.
Yeah.
And it's a very open, transparent process. We can have the indirect cost conversation at the front end and not at the back end.
Yeah, that was all.
Of what the full cost of these things are.
Good.
I like proactive solutions.
Yeah, no, good. This was needed.
I'll open it up to the commission. Commissioner Rahman.
I was actually just gonna, same comment as the previous with special projects. I love guardrails. I love communication, transparency. I think it's all the right things that, you know, we're overdue. So I appreciate your time and effort in putting all this together, because I know the patrol contracts, as you mentioned, are coming up at the end of the year. And I'm already prepared for some pretty tough discussions. But the fact that we're staying ahead of it, I think is gonna hopefully make our jobs collectively that much easier. And, you know, we can work through it more efficiently. So thank you.
Anybody else?
And they're somewhat aware those are going up a lot, you know?
Right.
I do just want to make the point, I've noticed, Commissioner Powell is at the meeting, but she's attending virtually. We didn't mention that earlier. Hi, Angie. Okay, anybody else who wants to speak on this? Commissioner Cavell.
You said all contracts, so that also includes like IT, if there was. IT
Yes.
was- Yep.
Yep, those were, yes, yeah. So any contract that is Oakland County contracting with another CVT, does it say, did we just limit it to Oakland County communities or any community? Should be any community.
Cool.
Because
Right, 'cause like
obviously the
finances
Clements and the IT contracts that we do, so yeah.
Sweet.
Okay, anybody else?
All communities, thank you.
Thank you.
Heard his footsteps.
Dun, dun, dun. Okay, then let's go ahead and prompt the vote if we don't have any more questions on it.
No.
You've been busy, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thanks for handling that.
Yeah, just to relieve some headaches.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right.
Okay, that's right.
If they come and yell at you, it'll be for something else. Problem solved.
Then we'll do it proactive, something else.
Right.
That's right.
Okay, that is the last of our scheduled items. Next up, we have our second public comment. Is there anybody here who cares to address the committee at this time? Seeing no one, I will close public comment. Do we have any other business? I just want to remind everybody, if you're interested, Webster School's having their groundbreaking down there on Huron Street at 3
You
o'clock
went to
today.
school there, you said, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Are you going then?
I am.
Yeah, that would be neat.
So that's a big project in Pontiac, $35 million, hopes to revitalize that whole corridor. It's really nice, so. And that was all developed by a private organization, a nonprofit.
$2 million that you pushed for.
Oakland County gave them $2 million. There were a lot of government, you know, the MEDC. If you wanna read about how they brought their money together, it's really quite an effort. So anyway, my heart's in that project and I just wanted to mention it. If there's no other business to come before the Finance Committee, I will call this meeting adjourned.